Welcome to Module 1. In this module, we're going to set the foundation by gaining a deep understanding of trauma. There are many types of traumatic experiences, and therefore definitions can vary a bit. This specific training is built around the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA's, definition of trauma that reads, trauma results from an event, series of events, or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. There are two important parts of this definition to note. First, results from, because trauma is the reaction we as individuals have to a harmful or life-threatening event. Second, lasting adverse effects. While traumatic experiences in adulthood can be fresh and difficult to manage, even a traumatic experience that occurred during childhood can still have adverse reactions on adults decades later. When dysfunctional behaviors are trauma-induced, treating just the symptoms of the trauma without understanding their value does not fully address the problem. Traumatic events can take many different forms. This can include unexpected loss, such as the death of a parent, accidents, such as those traffic-related or a work injury, bullying or school violence, man-made disasters, such as a bombing, or natural disasters, such as wildfires or tornadoes. Traumatic experiences can include terrorism, such as the events of 9/11, or being a victim of or witnessing a violent crime. Witnessing or experiencing intimate partner violence, living with someone with a substance use disorder, or living with someone with a mental illness can also be traumatic. Traumatic experiences can include abandonment or loss, neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or emotional abuse. Trauma can also result from experiencing chronic racism, homophobia, or bias. Traumatic experiences can occur at various points in life and can resurface several years after the experience took place. Trauma can occur from one specific single occurrence just as much as it can come from long-term exposure. But how can a traumatic experience impact an individual in such a profound way? Trauma reactions can manifest in a number of ways. Individuals may experience acute stress disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Both cause flashbacks, an inability to experience positive emotions, somatic reactions, and avoidance of certain memories and thoughts. Acute stress includes dissociative symptoms such as numbing or detachment from an event, versus PTSD, which includes very intrusive thoughts and an inability to move past an event. Individuals may have trouble thinking about the future and envision a foreshortened future. They may have trouble believing that they could live for many years into the future. With the belief that their lifespan will be shortened, they may not choose to or be able to think about long-term effects of actions or plan for the future. Denial and numbness are a common way to cope with grief or shock. This can be seen when a client is unable to recognize a previous traumatic event as traumatic or downplaying it. They might even simply block it out and not recall the incident at all. Emotional dysregulation occurs with trauma as well. This is what happens when someone has a hard time controlling emotions such as anger, anxiety, and sadness. Emotional extremes can occur as well. In these occurrences, individuals may respond in ways that others perceive as over the top or cold and distant for a given situation. For example, a minor disappointment, such as receiving a poor grade on an assignment, may result in a student with a trauma history exploding in anger, crying hysterically, or quitting school altogether. In other situations, a more significant experience, such as the death of a close family member or being fired from a job, will be met with a nonchalant attitude, as though the individual doesn't care at all. The younger someone is at the time of the trauma, the higher the chance of experiencing emotional dysregulation or emotional extremes. When trying to regulate emotions, people may take part in high-risk or self-injurious behaviors. Hyperarousal or hypervigilance is a biological response which causes people to always remain alert in preparation for a dangerous situation. These individuals experience a constant feeling of anticipation and fear, even in known safe situations. They never truly feel safe and able to let their guard down. Misinterpreting a situation as dangerous can happen when a client connects a previous experience to every future experience that reminds them of it. For instance, a smell or sound might remind them of where an attack happened. This might trigger a physical, emotional, or mental response where they feel as though they are in that situation again, even though they may be safe in the present moment. This often results in behaviors which seem out of place or unexpected to individuals unfamiliar with the individual's past life experiences. Idealization is being lenient to the perpetrator, having compassion for the perpetrator, or even caring for the perpetrator. This often leads the individual to not fully viewing themselves as a victim, perhaps even feeling responsible for their own traumatic experience. Intrusive thoughts occur when an individual experiences, often without warning and without intention, thoughts and memories associated with the trauma. This can be triggering in and of itself. It is also very common when individuals are going through trauma counseling and therapy. Finally, individuals with traumatic histories often report feeling different or feeling isolated. They may have false beliefs that they are the only individuals who have experienced such a traumatic experience. It often leads to a disconnection in relationships and a general retreating from social groups. Others may continue to be involved in social groups, but now feel as though they're an outsider who never truly fits in. In many instances, this results in secretive behavior and hoping that their background is not found out. Some individuals experience long-term effects from a traumatic event, while others do not. There is no clear path for those who've experienced a traumatic event. Individuals have a wide range of reactions. As you'll learn later in the course, individuals have a number of protective factors and risk factors that can help explain why some individuals are impacted one way and others another, or not at all. Before we go further into this training, we'd like to take a moment to talk about your experience with this course. Participants in such courses often have two common reactions to studying the topic of trauma. First, some participants may be overwhelmed by emotions as they have reactions to the trauma experienced by others. This overwhelming sympathy for victims of trauma can be hard to manage. Some participants may have reactions related to the trauma that they have personally experienced. It can bring up memories from their past or trigger emotional responses in them. As a result, we recommend that you practice good self-care during this training. Take breaks between modules. Practice deep breathing techniques. Talk to someone you trust and feel comfortable confiding in. Watch a funny television program or movie. Seek help if you need it.